Alrighty. Welcome, everyone. So, our speaker today is Tavonia Evans. She is a four-time tech founder, an engineer, a designer, a data scientist, and she has founded and developed a decentralized cryptocurrency called Guapcoin. Tavonia's vision is to use Guapcoin for the economic empowerment of Black people and especially Black-owned businesses. Not new to the world of startups, she's made the transition into the world of blockchain in 2016 as a result of identifying cryptocurrency as a tool that could stimulate economic growth and financial freedom within the Black community. So welcome and thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, how are you?
Very good, very good.
So, hi everyone. So yes, I'm Tavonia Evans. And we're going to be talking about my favorite topic today, of course, DeFi, NFTs, and Metaverse. And I know that's a lot of people's favorite topics these days. Well, at one point, NFTs were, because I feel like NFTs were the bridge to crypto to get the creative community interested in what the power of crypto had to offer. So in terms of DeFi, let's start there. Decentralized finance, what is that, right? So DeFi is a broad umbrella, a broad topic that pretty much covers everything that mimics your traditional financial world, right? To get into crypto, one of the big things that you first face is you first face trading. Well, that's what you used to that used to be the first thing you face. Now it's a lot easier to get in crypto because they have what's called on-ramps now, where you can just virtually just use your credit card or even your Cash App or whatever to buy crypto. But there used to be a time where you could only get crypto on an exchange, and it used to be a little bit more complicated. So exchanges are one of those things that have kind of like leaked over from the financial world as a financial service within the crypto world. So in DeFi, which stands for, again, decentralized finance, you're talking about financial applications or software that are not, just like crypto, they don't have a middleman or they're not officiated by a human. They are software run, So you may go on what's called a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange. And if you've toyed around in the crypto space, you might have played with Uniswap or PancakeSwap or other DEXs that are out there, right? And these DEXs are not like they have people who are actually doing trading for you. They don't have customer service like you would think. They are literally run by something called smart contracts. And that's why smart contracts were so exciting, because this was a way to eliminate the middleman and just create a set of rules that would make things so, and not only create a set of rules that the software would have to operate, but these rules would be transparent. So pretty much any DeFi platform out there, you can go in and you can see their code, you can see their smart contracts. And that's very important in decentralized, because how can something be decentralized, but you don't know what's going on behind the scenes? So a big characteristic of that is having these smart contracts that people can literally go and look at and say, oh, so this is how this runs, Now, if you're not a developer, it may not mean a hell of beans to you. Like may be a little bit complicated for you to just go and look at a smart contract and say, well, it does this, it does that. But at least you have the option to put your hands on it. And if you can't look at it, let's say you wanted to have someone else who was qualified to look at it, it's accessible. In the banking industry or the traditional finance industry, things are not transparent like that. They're not accessible. You can't just walk into the bank and ask them to see their books, right? Or to see what their software looks like and what is running your banking interface. You can't see all of that, because this is what's called centralized. These are closed source places. But in the world of DeFi, because it's decentralized, you literally can walk in and see how the business process of everything is working. And why is this so important? Because most DeFi platforms or decentralized finance platforms are cross-border. They're borderless. They don't have a border. So that means that you may walk into a platform or land on a platform. That platform may be in the Ukraine, or that platform may be in Romania, it may be in Europe, it may be in America. You don't know where it is, right? So in order to build trust and more trust between all of these global places that are doing business together with money, it's decided that, okay, we're going to be transparent. We're going to open up our software, allow you to even maybe audit the software if you want, so that you could be more comfortable or feel more comfortable sending money back and forth on our platforms. Because our DeFi platforms may have things like lending protocols, so you may decide that you want to try out this new lending protocol that'll lend you crypto, right? And which is money, if you don't know. So something might lend you some money and you want to go try that out. And it has a smart contract to govern all of that. That smart, as soon as you log in, it's going to connect to your wallet. It's going to ask you to sign this contract. It's going to initiate the transactions, and it's going to get going, like, possibly even very fast. And all the while, there's no one pushing buttons. There's no one that has to approve this. There's a set of rules that are already written in the smart contract, and that's the rules it goes by. So you can't even change the rules. You can't say, I don't like the way this is. Can I change it? You can't do it. It's done. Now some DeFi protocols have DAOs, which is another piece of this, a decentralized autonomous organization, which acts like a decentralized company. So this is everybody who comes together and they can vote on changes on DeFi protocols. So you might not be able to change it, but if you're a part of a DAO, then you may propose a change and the DAO will come together and vote on it democratically. So this is another big piece of this whole Web3 ecosystem, what we call, because we're talking about DeFi, we're talking about NFTs, we're talking about Metaverse, and what we're really talking about is Web3, right? So, it seems complicated, and quite honestly, this is why a lot of people haven't gotten involved with, DeFi. DeFi is still fairly new, and it's not very popular because it is very complicated. You know what I mean? A lot of people, they're afraid to, like, okay, if I get involved in this, you know what I mean? Am I going to lose my money? Am I going to lose? I'm logging into some of the stuff that I'm going to share you guys. Am I going to lose my money if I get involved? And that's a very, very, very distinct possibility nowadays if you don't know what you're doing. Because if you're just clicking around and going on a DeFi platform and you log in and you give your wallet address, guess what? It's the done deal. They might just be able to sweep your money out of there. And if they're able to sweep your money out of there, there's not going to be getting any money back, even on the platform that you went to. So that's very key. Decentralized usually means a lack of centralized resources like customer service, like law. Remember that, because we're talking cross-borderless. So who's going to prosecute someone in another country because you maybe lost $50 to $100 worth of USD over here, So, and I don't want to say all of this to get you alarmed, because this is getting better. This is improving. And how this is going to improve through education. That is really the only way, because most of the money that is lost through DeFi on the user side is the user is at fault. So, and what that means is it's not that the software is broken or the software got hacked into. That may happen once out in a blue moon, but a lot of times what's happening is you're a user and you're on Twitter and you click on something that it seems to be some great new protocol, and they're promising that you're going to double or triple your money or whatever. And you go and you log on and they swiped your money or you lost your money, you know? So without education and without knowing the standards and knowing what's popular and knowing what's not, knowing what's stable and knowing what's not, the DeFi, the whole entire DeFi sphere has become the Wild Wild West, just like the crypto sphere itself. So, but again, one of the benefits, the major benefits, is it gives people greater access to financial products. So think about, especially people who are in other countries that may not have access to loans like somewhere else, right? There may be a DeFi protocol that does microloans or micro business loans or peer-to-peer, P2P loans or some other type of protocol or whatever. But these are going to be the protocols of the future. This is going to be how everyone is going to be able to come on board and eventually be able to get lending and get more capital, or even be able to just get help and get out of a situation. They're going to be going through these DeFi platforms in order to do so. They may even be using one day DeFi banking, decentralized banking, you know, something that mimics a bank, you know, but it's not necessarily a bank. They may be using that as well. So there's a lot of benefits, especially when you're used to not having access. You're going to want to, you know, take advantage or take a risk on doing something new that provides you with access. So, you know, so that's the DeFi part of it. Now, DeFi has become the heart of Web3, right? Because Web3 is tied into, you know, it's tied into digital money. And DeFi covers digital money, right? So you're going to have eventually in the Web3 ecosphere, you're going to have so many different currencies. You are, literally, because why wouldn't someone have, if someone has something of value, or ecosystem of value, they built a whole world. Why not have a whole currency within their whole world? You know, they literally can do that. And some examples of this being done is, this isn't a new thing, by the way. Some examples of this being done is a platform called Second Life. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Second Life, but Second Life is nearly 2 decades old. And I know because I'm a Second Lifer. But Second Life was one of those platforms that had its own currency. It had what's called the Linden dollar, right? And eventually the Linden dollar became quite valuable, even outside of its ecosystem. So it became valuable because you can trade out on the markets with the dollar, right? So whenever you have an ecosystem that's popular, that has things that people want, and it could sell and has its own currency, you have the basis for an ecosystem that can have its own whole entire own financial system and a world, which is what we who are developing metaverses are hoping. We're hoping to have our own worlds that will have their ecosystems and their financial systems, et cetera, right?
We have one question. So,
yeah.
if, you know, as you mentioned that this is a difficult space to get into, and safety is key, what would you recommend as a first step for a newbie?
First step, education, a little bit. That's, you almost can't get around it. You know, us geek people, when we get into something new on the internet, the first thing we do is we Google, we research, we read, we look at YouTube tutorials, we go in, you know, and I always suggest that if you're going to get in a space, you go in, because the thing is, you never know if you're going to be that one that goes from maybe $10 worth of assets, digital assets, to $1 million worth of digital assets. So why not treat yourself as though you're going to one day have $1 million worth of digital assets, right? So you're going to want to protect those assets. And that's one thing about decentralized finance. It's divorcing you from the idea that someone else is going to take care of it. You are the bank. You are the custodial more times than not. So that means that you're going to have to learn how to take care of your own resources, right? So you want to treat it important. It's not like you got to get a PhD or you got to go back to school or anything like that. You know, you're talking about maybe going to YouTube, you're talking about getting with your favorite influencer or whatever. And another thing is you got to also remember the power of a community. These are built on community, you know? So that's another part of it. You want to make sure that you join and you are active in a community. When I want to know about a new platform and I get involved in a new platform, which I have many, one of the first things I do is I join their Discord or join their Telegram, most of the time in their Discord. And then when I go in their Discord, I'm in there with a lot of new people like myself. And 9 times out of 10, they're asking some of the same questions I may have. And I can read through and I can see some of my questions answered. And I can connect with other community members that can help kind of hold my hand through the process too. So that's very important. So that's important. Number one, get yourself a little bit of knowledge in that space. And number two, join the community because the community is going to be extremely helpful. And someone said, where can you find out about different communities? Well, first of all, likely you've gotten here because there's a project that you're interested in. So if you're interested in that particular project, usually their Discord and their Telegram is located on their website. So they usually will have a link to their Discord or their Telegram. If it's not on their website, it's going to be on their Twitter. A lot of DeFi protocols, crypto communities, metaverses, et cetera, they usually, the place where they get their announcements out to the world is through Twitter. And as bad as I don't like Twitter, I use Twitter to keep up with those projects and communities.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So let's get to the subject of NFTs. So NFTs are non-fungible tokens. And a lot of people are really confused about NFTs because to some people it doesn't make sense. And I can kind of agree, but you got to follow the whole story, right? So we had this thing that came about with NFTs and got popularized by the art that was selling as NFTs for so much money, right? And it's usually digital art. So people would be like, well, why would I spend $1 million for a JPEG or a PNG where it could be stolen and this doesn't protect it? Because no, an NFT does not protect the graphic itself. So it's not like later on down the line, they may get better at that, but it's not like someone can't right click or take a screenshot of a graphic and use it somewhere else and maybe even get away with it. But what that NFT is digital ownership. So it's saying who the original owner is. So if they actually want to sell it, right, then they can run into problems, especially as an NFT. Right. So if they take it and they sell it on an established platform, and let's say that they're selling an NFT and they're selling it for $1,000 USD, right? Well, of course, you're going to want to do anybody who's going to buy it is going to want to do their due diligence and make sure that this is an official. They're not going to just drop $1,000. So they're going to research, they're going to look online, they're going to go to maybe the artist website or go to the artist community, and they will be able to trace down those original NFTs and know that if they're buying a fake NFT or not, right? So what separates an NFT from is an NFT a crypto? No, it is not. That is why it's called non-fungible. The difference between an NFT and a crypto is fungible. So this is something that has a set value across the board that you can spend, you can buy things as a crypto. But as an NFT, this is something that is usually an individual is tied to the individual value or worth. And it's not fungible. So it's not something that it's like I created this NFT and it represents $10. You know what I mean? No, I created this NFT and it represents art. Whatever value comes of it is going to come through the demand, the trade, et cetera, just like you do collectibles. And that's what another name for that type of NFT would be, a collectible. Now, are there other types of NFTs? Yes, there are identity NFTs. You know, now they have non-fungible domains. So now you can purchase NFT domain names. And identity is big because in the web sphere, in Web3 and in Metaverse, guess what's going to be like the next big thing? Well, not even the next big thing, it is the big thing, and largely because of AI. a big thing that is going to have to be solved on the internet, and largely because of AI, is identity. Proving that this is, and not even just identity, but of course, proving that this belongs to this identity, proving that this identity is here and not here, licensing your things. All of these things are going to be tied to your identity. So NFTs are going to be something that are going to be the standard also in identity and identity protocols, right? So you may possess an NFT that represents an identity in the future, right? And you'll be able to take that NFT and use it in different communities. Maybe this one community is not allowing people who are not in a particular organization to enter into their community spaces, like their metaverse and stuff like that. So your NFT may act as your pass to get you in. So right now, I even have a couple of places that I'll say are token gated. And when you see token gated, that usually means that that's someplace that you'll have to have your NFT in your wallet in order to get in, right? So there may be a metaverse and I land on this metaverse page and it's going to ask me to connect my wallet, and I'll connect my wallet. And if I am possessing the NFT in my wallet, then I will be able to get in through this token gate. So I don't know if that's if that's above and beyond. If anybody has any questions, feel free to drop it in. But just think of this as your digital driver's license that you use, you may use for identity, or your digital passport. You're going to have digital passports to get in certain places. So that is a huge use case of NFTs. So if you don't understand an NFT being a JPEG or PNG and why that even is a thing, at least you'll understand that, okay, what about your digital identity and managing who you are or where you belong or what organization you're a part of, and encapsulating that in an NFT and imagine it on that end. So that's another use case to me that's much larger than the art use case, even though the art is great. Legacies have been lost, because people have not had any documentation of ownership that has been standard across the board. Imagine if you have a certificate of ownership in a country somewhere that's not, in the world forum or whatever, right? So will your certificate of ownership be respected? Or if it's stolen, how do you prove it? NFTs work to also preserving legacies and possessions in that way. And we hope in the future it's going to work even better because the technology is only going to get even better. So I know I kind of fit NFTs in there really quickly. Does anybody have any questions about NFTs? Where do you get them? Because if you don't know where you get them, you can get NFTs on marketplaces. Some of the popular marketplaces are like OpenSea, Rarible. There's no particular one that's like people tend to use OpenSea a lot, but where people go is going to change as more sources for buying NFTs are going to pop up. Now, in terms of buying NFTs, do they get very expensive? Yes, they can get expensive. In what ways can they get expensive? Well, the value, of course, of the NFT can go up and up and up because you can have, what tends to happen is people tend to airdrop their NFTs very early on when they first launch. They call it a drop. So they might drop 100 NFTs really cheap, right? And why would they do such a thing? Well, then 100 people are going to snatch up those NFTs and they're going to resell them, right? And a lot of NFTs, because NFTs are nothing but smart contracts. I remember I mentioned smart contracts earlier. They're nothing but a piece of software with a set of instructions. So some people program their NFTs to continue to give them royalties. I know you're probably familiar with the word royalties. You've heard it in the music industry and stuff like that. And you're definitely going to hear it in the NFT space. So you may purchase an NFT that has a royalty. What that means that every time that NFT is sold, then whoever programmed it, whoever the founder, or maybe even whoever owned it before you is going to get a portion of that sale, right? So they may drop the NFT and the NFT may be valued at $10 USD. It may get resold because it got popular at 100 USD, and on and on and on and on. And that person is continuing to make revenue off of those NFTs. So, so that's another thing. So one way it would get expensive is, of course, the value, demand, and the scarcity of that particular NFT would drive up the price. Another way it could get expensive is the gas fees. So you may not be familiar with that, but when you're operating on a platform and you're moving either crypto back and forth or you're moving NFTs, a lot of times you have to pay the gas fee. And when it gets really, really, really popular, sometimes like Ethereum got popular at one point, especially when NFTs first started, because everybody was minting their NFTs, everybody was selling their NFTs on Ethereum. That drove the price of the gas fees on Ethereum up. So pretty soon it got very expensive to even move an NFT on Ethereum. It almost was like not even worth it. It's not worth buying the $10 NFT and paying $20 worth of gas fees, So what wound up happening is these explosions of these things called layer twos. So layer twos like Matic, Polygon, right? Polygon is what's called a layer two, and it works side by side with Ethereum, and it conducts transactions, et cetera, at a much cheaper rate. So Polygon gave people the opportunity to mint NFTs for cheaper and to move NFTs for cheaper. So Polygon got pretty popular, and they solved that problem. So a lot of times when a problem comes up in the DeFi space, on the NFT or crypto space, something will come along to solve that problem eventually, and it will become more and more pain-free. And over time, the whole entire industry, as it grows, is going to become, painless.
Yeah.
What are some?
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to ask the question. What are some of the things, so two questions kind of. So what are some of the things that people should consider before releasing an NFT, and once you do, like, how do you ensure the focus of value and not just hype,
Yeah, absolutely. The thing with NFT is you gotta first develop a plan of what kind of NFT you're releasing. Are you releasing one unique item? Or are you releasing a collection? Right? Because one unique item may not be it's definitely not going to be as complicated as releasing a collection. You may have one piece of artwork at a time and have built up your name as an artist to be able to do so, to just release one piece of artwork. Right. So, and you may just because you do original artwork, and all you have to do is go on OpenSea and list your artwork. And it's that simple. Create your profile and list your artwork. However, if you're trying to go big and release a collection, there are people who want to do the collection. Like, I want to drop a whole collection of 10,000 generated NFTs, So these are NFTs that have basically the same base, but they have different characteristics. And a lot of that is done programmatically. So it's like, I want to have a base, but then I want to have different characteristics. So if you're trying to do that, those get more complicated. And those are not as popular as they were before. So these are the ones that you're talking, like the Bored Apes and, all of those types of things, that they actually look similar. Each and every one NFT looks similar, just has unique characteristics. If you're going to do something like that, that's a little bit more complicated. And most people will go to platforms that help them do an NFT launch or NFT drop. Because it's complicated. You have to list all your NFTs. You got to make sure that they're categorized by their uniqueness and all of these different things that can be a little bit more technical than just releasing one piece of artwork.
And for the potential investor, like, what do you recommend as far as them doing their own research to ensure that, this project is good? And
well, as an investor, one of the things I would say first and foremost is to join groups and clubs that are like official. Like, as a woman, I'm a part of almost every women in blockchain, women NFT group, women, whatever, right? And I love those because they usually announce projects that are legit. They're going to announce projects that they know the founder or the creator, and ones that are their focus is usually going to be safety first. They're not going to just throw you out there into something that they haven't vetted. And these are usually going to be vetted projects. So that's why you want to join the groups and the organizations and stuff like that, so that you can kind of get your hand held in those. I'll never suggest for people to just jump out there on their own and stay on their own, because that's usually where they'll get into some type of trouble. There's a lot of people on Twitter that are pushing NFT projects, and I can't stand it, honestly. It's a lot of spam. I would avoid things that are spammed, so if something is like tagging people, or they tag you and they're like, hey, come look at this and look at, I would avoid those, because anybody who tags me, I block them, unless it's somebody that I know. But a lot of times you'll find when you go on Twitter and you get tagged to NFT projects, is once you get in the world and you start doing a little bit with NFTs, then you're going to start seeing a lot more NFT content on Twitter and et cetera. So, and the bots are going to tag you. So if you get tagged by bots, you get tagged by somebody, you want to go on their page and you want to see if they got a good user base, followers, activities, and they're following people. And you want to look at, and also maybe a little age on the account, because a lot of the bots, they literally will pop up like the same day or recent. They won't have any followers. They won't have much of a profile, and they will be pumping something. And there's a lot of that out there. So you have to be careful of these things that are just pumping. That's why you really want to join the organizations that vet projects.
Got you. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. So jumping over from NFTs, NFTs play a big role in the metaverse. The metaverse is something that's been around for quite a long time. However, the ability to be able to own your digital items has not, right? Back in the days, you would, if you're participating in a metaverse platform, like even per se Roblox, which is considered to be a metaverse platform, or Second Life, or or these are prior early ones, maybe The Sims, or these types of things, these simulated environments, etc. You would buy things, but if you close down the app or close down the program, you may lose these things. You may never have those possessions again, right? So there's no way to record and for you to just have them, unless you just like have an image or whatever. But what NFTs give you is a digital ownership, and gives you the ability to have some type of portability between all of the digital items and properties and things that are associated with metaverses that you use, and Web3, right? So this is empowering you to have your own digital closet. Your digital wallet is your digital closet, that you'll be able to go from platform to platform and have the things that you can use, maybe cross-platform things that you can use in the metaverse. So this is going to be really important. Like in the future, you may take your virtual house with you or your land. It's going to be sitting in your wallet, and you may decide that you want to go to another platform and you want to use it, or you have your avatar and you bought all of these really nice clothes that represent you as an individual, and you want to be able to take your clothes with you to another platform. So these things are going to be NFTs, and these things are going to live in your wallet, and you will be able to take it from place to place. So why the metaverse is becoming so great really now, I think, is because it's becoming more accessible to people who are just not geeks, number one. There's more of a use case for people who are just not geeks. We just recently came out of a pandemic, and we all were on Zoom. And I know we're on Zoom right now. And I know people are sick of Zoom, right? Which is why I do most of my events, whether it comes to my classes or my webinars and everything, I do them in the metaverse now. So I build metaverses. I am actually the co-founder of a metaverse operating system called Eugen, which will be launching sometime in 2024. And we are building the rails for people to be able to spin up metaverses in the public space, the educational, entertainment, and enterprise spaces. The metaverse obviously is going to be even more bigger in 2024, with recently Apple launching or actually teasing us with its headset and kind of bringing the concept of metaverse to the mainstream. Because yes, the last couple of years, all of us, we've been on Oculus. We've been building worlds on, and it's been fairly siloed. Like these worlds are not interconnected yet. So we still haven't gotten to the point. See, that was the thing that actually grew the internet in Web 2 was interconnectivity, right? So you had something called APIs in the internet in Web 2, which allowed you to plug into another existing platform without plugging into it, but plugging into their data so that the data could be shared across platforms. So the interconnectivity of metaverses hasn't quite arrived yet, but metaverses are here. So it's still early, but once we get the interconnectivity of metaverses, then you have the Web3 that largely mirrors Web2's interconnectivity, which is very, very important. I'm going to share an example of a metaverse platform that I use now for the time being. And I say for the time being, because like I said, we're in the process of building our own. But a metaverse platform that I use right now is called Spatial. And one of the things that I love about Spatial is it does have things out of the box where you could just spin up your own world. But it also has a creator toolkit that you can actually design and develop your world using Unity and other tools like Blender and etc. So I build outside and then I bring it into Unity and then I bring my worlds into Spatial, and it handles all of the technology for me. So I don't have to worry about programming anything to work or anything like that. It literally just handles it. And I love that it's accessible by multiple devices. So it's accessible by your headset. So I have my Oculus. It's accessible on the computer, which is what you're seeing now. And it also has mobile accessibility. So I love that because that's very important and will set you aside because I'm also a builder in Facebook Horizons, but Horizons is only accessible via headset. So it has limited accessibility, and that's why it's not as popular right now, right? So these are some of the projects that I've built. I built a mall here where we'll be having stores that are guap coin stores, they accept guap, etc. And I built a town hall here. And a town hall is where I host open on Monday nights. We're talking about crypto or we're talking about Blockcoin here, and I'm here to answer questions. And I love it because I can do everything I can do in Zoom. I can even share my screen here. I could share my screen and hold on one second. You know, I can do screen sharing here, and I can bring in documents. I can bring in everything that I can bring in what you call it in it's not letting me delete then. But yes, I can bring in things that I can bring into Zoom. Which I don't like anymore. So this is changing up the landscape of our communication. And it also it brings us closer globally as well, because this is another borderless thing. This also gives me the opportunity to token gate, so I can have events here, and they have to have an NFT to attend my event in their wallet in order to get into my event. So I can sell that NFT on OpenSea or whatever, or I can distribute NFTs just to specific people in order for them to get in. So that's another thing. So you're looking at the future of the web, which is not just metaverse, but is autonomous networks. You know, so the world of social media is kind of dying, and people are getting sick of that, right? So they're taking back their own power, and they're like, I want to have my own place with my own stuff and charge my own fees, and I don't want processors, and I don't want to rent server space and all this other stuff. I want to have all of that myself, you know, because right now, even as far as getting a domain name, You literally are not owning your domain name, you're renting your domain name because there is going to be an expiration date. But if you buy a decentralized domain, which would be as an NFT, you can own your domain name forever. So you can see how things are changing in the world of the metaverse and decentralized finance.
I love this. This is so cool. This really amazing immersive experience. Could you share, like, if there's people on a call and watching, like, what are other ways that they could use this spaces, depending on their, profession or interest?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. I'm actually building a space for a woman that does mental health, so she's literally building a mental health space. So, which is really cool because you're almost like semi-anonymous when you're dropping in. So there's some people maybe you're having some real serious mental health challenges and they don't want to expose themselves. Or there may be some, different scenarios that they're able to just drop in and take advantage of the services that she offers. So I foresee people using that a lot. I foresee people using this as a tool in many, many, many industries, of course, in entertainment, of course, in education, and of course, in retail, because you are able to sell things in here. And think about it, you land on a website. Sometimes it's not the most exciting thing to just field through clothes, etc. But imagine when you have your VR headset, you're able to actually walk through a store and pick up clothes and look at it and maybe even try it on. These are the things that are available now in the metaverse and will become even more available in the future.
And what do you think about, like, safety, right? Like, there's some concerns about, all the safety regulations and keeping children safe and as you're mentioning identity, like, what do you think about where things are going in that direction?
That's a huge topic. I actually participated in a women's summit, and our main topic was about safety. Because believe it or not, you can get sexually harassed in the metaverse too, right? So how do you prevent that? And the only way to prevent these things, of course, is a little education as well, but this is where the software platforms have to equip you to be able to address these things and address trolls. I know in the case of Horizons, they have these things that you can put a protective bubble around yourself if someone is harassing you. So you could also turn people off so you can't hear them anymore. They can't interact with you, block them, etc. And then the community can even vote if you're being a nuisance. So these things tend to be very effective. And even on Spatial, they're now having some abilities to field out people a lot more, because lately they've been getting a lot of racist trolls, believe it or not. It will just pop up in your space and just start causing trouble. So they're having the ability to be able to moderate those as well. Moderation tools are getting even better and better in the future. And our platform, we are giving birth to different types of users that will detect what type of user you are. So if you're a child under 13 or whatever, there are going to be certain spaces that child cannot go to, will not be able to even access or even see. And that identity, that age is going to be attached to the identity, and the identity is going to be attached to a parent identity that has to be present in order for them to be present.
Wow. Amazing. This is all just super exciting. And just to think about all the solutions that are going to be created. So there's, so many spaces available for people to continue to build and solve problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
lots
so
of
wide open.
Yep.
And nowadays, you don't just have to be a designer. You don't just have to be a 3D artist. There are tools, like I said, even Spatial has built-in tools. And there are also entire websites and libraries. Like, even though I build, sometimes I spend about a couple of hours a day on sites that sell models and digital. As I said, the digital market is so huge, they're making a lot of money. So I like to see what type of models they have out there that I may be able to buy, and maybe I could fix this up. Sometimes I don't just want to build something from scratch. Maybe I just want to find something out there and then customize that. And you can do that. And I find through the customizing process is where you really learn. I learned 3D modeling by customizing 3D models. and then pretty soon I was building 3D models from the ground up.
Yeah, there's so many opportunities for like virtual community managers and like you're saying, builders and customizing as well. So you don't have to absolutely start from scratch. And there's security specialists in this space. So just
Moderators, yeah, tour guides, all of that.
yeah. And there's so many ways to build experiences. I got a chance to do like a meditation experience last year at a conference, which was really cool. Everyone knows that conferences are like busy and full. And then I got an opportunity to go inside by this really beautiful space that was created by a metaverse architect. And, there was a yogi there and there's beautiful scenery and sound and just really transported us in the middle of the conference. So there's just so many options.
Yeah, I have two conferences coming up. I have one for Juneteenth. I got one that I'm planning around the Essence Festival, and then I have another one that I'm planning to do that is actually like a dating game, a social experience that metaverse that I'm planning.
Fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's addictive.
Does anyone else have any questions? You can feel free to raise your hand. We can unmute you, or you can just pop your question in the chat. We're nearing the end. Okay, I'll let you continue.
Yeah. So essentially you saw some components, and all of these components are being brought together, right? So probably within the next 2 years, it's going to be much more of a seamless experience. You may literally walk into a metaverse property and walk into a metaverse bank, or you may walk into a metaverse, center and like Apple's metaverse, because Apple is about to release its goggles. So the next thing is going to be its metaverse and its customer service. So you may walk into an Apple store in the metaverse, and get to try out different new things and purchase it right in the metaverse, and then it gets sent to your home. We're not far out from these experiences. Like literally where these things can happen now. The technology is there for it to happen now. So we're not far from these things. I guess all that needs to happen is people need to see the value and the worth of using it. And I'm looking at what's going on in New York right now and them not being able to go outside. Guess what? They'll be going inside. This is a time when I would go and I'd pick up my headset and go inside and do some work and meet people. So you never know what the future is going to hold. And I'm hoping that we can still enjoy outside the way we want to enjoy it. But the metaverse definitely gives us options, way more options than we had, especially even during the pandemic.
Absolutely.
So really, really, really cool stuff. And you also could think about the cost. There may be some things that you want to do, and you being able to do it virtually may cut your cost in a quarter, by a quarter. So maybe you want to have a big summit. You want to have a bunch of people together, have it in the metaverse, have it on spatial, create a summit, and they have some out of the box solutions for free. Like you can pick environments and you can do it there. If you're an artist, you can do an art show in the metaverse. You can set up a gallery, all of those things. So I would suggest you poke around and see what other people are doing. That is the best way to get a grasp of this entire industry. People ask, how can I get in this industry? You got to be in it to win it. You know what I mean? So you don't necessarily have to be in it and know what you're doing, quote unquote. You got to be curious enough. You got to be in it. You got to get in a community. You got to look and see what people are doing. And it's going to spark some ideas in your head. And it's going to spark some direction in terms of what you can do and what you may like to do in regards to DeFi, NFTs, and the metaverse and Web3 in general. So I think that's the biggest takeaway is you got to be in it to win it. Like if there's not a lot you can do. It's not going to break if you jump in and play around. That's what we do as coders, as developers, as startup founders, et cetera. We just play around. It's like we could test out ideas and things we want to do here in our little sandbox. So you gotta get in it. You gotta play around a little bit for you to see the potential. I run into a lot of creators in the metaverse, and I get wowed by some of the things that they're doing. I'm like, wow, this is really good. I haven't even heard of it. And I'm in it and I'm looking what you're doing. And I'm like, this is so awesome. So they're like so ahead, but the only reason that they're ahead is because they jumped in and they experimented and they played around. None of these people have degrees in 3D programming or gaming or anything like that. They're just regular individuals like yourself and I, and they just jumped in and they said, hey, I'm just going to take a stab at it. And they did. And now here it is. They're doing some great things. So my suggestion is jump in and take a stab at it. Grab somebody, even myself, when you're a builder and you're a creator in this, you're more open to creating with other people, even if they're just brand new and they want to learn. Like we can create together. You can come in because sometimes you're in these places and you're building and you're by yourself, you're lonely, So you want people to jump in, whether they know what they're doing or not. And, you could just explain and you get to, so this is a space where you can learn on the fly a lot easier. There's not a lot of gatekeeping here.
Love that. Get in early, go fast, go hard, less gatekeeping, get in where you fit in and just build. Absolutely.
Yeah. And the revenue opportunity is huge. The next thing you know, you could be building for people, just like people build websites, people build metaverses. You could talk to somebody, say, hey, why don't you, this is really cool. Why don't you have your next event in the metaverse and I'll build it for you. And this is what I'm charging, So yeah, there's a lot of money here.
Beautiful. Well, any last thoughts as we're wrapping up?
Yeah, well, no, that was it. My last thought is get in. Don't sit on the sideline and, have your brain going with a lot of questions. This is not that kind of thing. Get in, point and click, jump in spatial, set up an account. It's free to set up an account here. You know what I mean? You can set up your first world for free. So jump in and do it, play around, even with the NFTs, mint your first NFT, buy an NFT, you can buy something pretty inexpensive. That's the way to learn in this space.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. This was super exciting as we went over DeFi and NFTs and the Metaverse. This is week 4 for Unit Masters, and it was such a pleasure to have you here and dig a little bit deep into all those big, weighty topics, and then show us this amazing project that you're working on. So thank you for coming and sharing with us. And cheers to the weekend, and we see you all tomorrow, same time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.